He was good to go.
Okay.
It's a few minutes after 7 o'clock. So on our agenda tonight, we have a public hearing for definitive subdivision by Nazir Shamsuddin. Master planning update, abbreviated site plan review for signage at the Public Safety and Senior Center property on Bay Road. We have a potential modification to, minor modification to Canterbrook Senior Housing Special Permit signage. Discussion regarding bylaw updates, road acceptance policy, and other potential board business. So the first thing on our agenda is the definitive subdivision for Nazir Shamsuddin on Hoffmeyer Road. Our town attorney could not be here tonight, so all parties have agreed to continue the public hearing until
April the 2nd.
April 2nd, thank you. But I know there's one party here that wanted to ask us a question. Who's in the butter? Did you want to do that, Brett, or are you good?
I can, sir. Do you guys need to vote whether I can ask a question or not? Or?
No, you can ask the question and then we can continue it.
Just real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah, it's fine.
So Brett McKechnie, 52 Mile Road. So I know that there's another lawsuit going on in regards to the same property that I think is the 26th is when they're supposed to meet, but I'm not positive of the date. My request or question is, first of all, doesn't it make more sense to have the next conversation once that lawsuit is decided so that there is no bias towards trying to make sure that that is resolved, or make a decision, you know, on this item here, so to make sure that it's not influenced whatsoever by the lawsuit, and just trying to make sure that that lawsuit goes away by voting here in a way that is not the right time to be voting on this issue, knowing that there's the other one going on. And maybe I'm not stating that correctly, but just trying to make sure that everybody's not biased towards that lawsuit in making a decision here for the subdivision. That's my question or request.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
There's now two lawsuits on?
No, just one. Just one.
So
Okay, this is the same one that's been going on.
can you summarize what the issues are for the
Well,
lawsuit as opposed to what we've been looking at?
that's over the ANR that we denied.
Okay.
Specific.
As simple as we, right, that's about as simple as we get.
It's just
there.
related to the same property, there's a lot of
Correct.
similarities
And
between the two, that's all.
I don't want to speak for our attorneys. I know
Yep.
our attorneys have said that we can do this and not be biased, because it's essentially a separate item that we're voting on. It's a subdivision and not an ANR. I mean, as
Right, the
simple as I can get
ANR
it.
is not before the board
Correct.
now.
Correct.
I'll also remind you that what the judge really wanted was for the applicant to come to the board with a subdivision proposal, which they did. It's now going through its courses. There have been numerous reviews in front of the board. So that's, the matter at hand. The indications that I've gotten from counsel is that prior decisions now do not affect whether or not the board considers the new application indicative of meeting the subdivision requirements as the town has them.
And therefore, there is no need to postpone any decision once we decide to make a decision.
Correct. Actually, the judge wants the outcome of this, so they have the ability to then make his decision.
So can I just say one other thing? If the board approves the subdivision, does the lawsuit go away?
I don't know what the applicant is going to do or not do, but I would anticipate that that's the outcome that they're looking for.
And that's my concern. I mean, if that goes away, if it's decided here that the subdivision is approved, the town doesn't have to go through a lawsuit, because why would Mr. Nazir?
I think this comes back to a comment that I made, sub rosa sort of, which is that it might be wise to consult a lawyer.
I can certainly do that. I'm just asking
Yeah,
if it can be delayed.
we're not
That's all I'm
lawyers.
asking.
We don't, I don't think we should even,
Well,
we don't know what the
yeah,
judge is
I don't
gonna
want to
do.
really get into it too much. I mean, we used to take our advice of our counsel.
Sure.
That we can do this. They are two separate items. You know, one was before us, now it's in court. This one is a separate item, is over a separate issue, even though it's the same property. Which is
Sure.
why, you know, and again, it was a direction of the court that we try to work that out, so.
Again, I'm just asking
Yeah,
for you
right.
guys to
No,
delay
no,
it.
no, I
Your
get it.
answer can be absolutely no, or not answer it, or,
Yeah, we're,
just-
you know, we're probably gonna, I mean, it's, you know,
Well, it is being delayed by,
well, it's being continued,
Right.
right, it's being continued, till April 2nd if we vote on that, so. I don't really wanna get into it any more than that, and, you know, hopefully that answers your question.
it does,
well enough.
absolutely. I just wanted to make sure I brought it up, that's all.
Nope, no problem.
Okay,
Great,
thank
thank
you.
you. All right, so, anybody wanna make a motion?
I make a motion that we continue the public hearing for definitive subdivision in the application by Nazir Shamsuddin
To April 2nd.
to April 2nd.
Second.
Oh, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Unanimous? Thank you. Is anybody here for public safety sign? Or should we do,
The chief had a conflict tonight and asked me to speak to the board.
All right, should-
The chief,
well, since that's the case, should we just do
sure,
Larry?
that's fine.
We do you guys first and get you out of here? So we'll move on to 354 Highland Street, Tannerbrook.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dawn Pease. I'm Larry's sign company that does all the signage for his properties. May I ask, were you given handouts for the sign design and the sign location? Okay, and my apologies, it may not have occurred. We were allowed to slip in within half an hour of the deadline, and it wasn't clear
There we go.
what I needed to bring or what, I provided all of that to Mary Ellen, but we weren't clear on whether I was printing them or she was.
Yeah,
So my
it's
apologies if
in
you
here.
don't have them. I do have one copy here that I'm happy to let you look through.
The board received these within a half an hour of the time you submitted them to me. Your full application, all the graphics, everything within a half an hour of when you sent it to me,
Yes.
so.
So you have a copy, but copies weren't distributed for
No,
everyone?
electronically, I
Oh.
provided that to each and every board member.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay.
My apologies. So basically, the bylaw says now that we can have a 6-square-foot sign to advertise that these homes are being for sale on the property. And it's really not an adequate size to advertise for such, you know, high-end, beautiful homes that are being built there. The signage is temporary. And so we're asking that we could have a sign similar to a competitor sign just 2 miles down the road that's 4 foot by 8 foot with nice decorative posts and a nice layout. And we'd like to be able to do something similar. It's only temporary. It'll only be up until the units are sold.
Where's the one down the road?
Um,
Oh.
That's the one over
We would-
by, what used to be a golf course?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
used to be on the golf course. Does everybody see that in their packet, what they're proposing?
Yeah,
4 by 8.
found it. Number 4.
And the duration that this would be up would be?
Probably till the last unit is sold.
And it would be going basically at the entrance of the road there? Right. Right.
We don't have an example, do we?
Did I submit the map showing where the sign goes?
No,
Yeah.
I'm just looking for an
Yeah.
example of the sign.
It's right here.
Oh, you have to, that's the picture
This
is the
is-
sign?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Oh.
that's what's being proposed.
Oh, okay. So,
Is this piece
I
in
get
there
it.
showing the location of the sign?
It is,
Okay.
yeah, the following page.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it. I mean, it's, you know, the size of this table roughly. What?
I don't have any problem.
Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts?
I have no problems with it.
Rick, you good?
I'm fine.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think we have any issue with it.
So do we have to make a motion to amendment to the?
Yeah, this would be, first vote, you need to vote that this is a minor amendment to the special permit. And then your second vote is to accept the new dimensions as per the sketch submitted as per this email on February the 27th.
So the first vote is to,
Amend the existing special permit.
okay. So I make a motion, we amend the special permit for 354 Highland Street
As a minor amendment.
as a minor modification to the special permit.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Okay, I'll make another motion to approve the sign, double-sided sign as proposed by the applicant for advertising at 354 Highland Street.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Great.
There you go.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question about, what is the?
Right, right,
Looks like
thanks.
a church down in the corner, I don't quite.
It's actually a logo that
Logo.
we're in the process of developing.
Okay.
It's actually a horse stable.
Barn, yeah.
So that's not good feedback, we just got here, but it's a horse stable.
Well, it is about this big, so.
Yeah, I know, but,
It's a cupola at the top with a horse.
oh, good.
If you look closely, you can see that it's a horse, you can see that it's a.
It's just, yeah, it's
It's
pretty
like a
small.
barn.
It's pretty small.
See it.
Great, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It does sort of look like a church down below though, but whatever.
Brian,
Yeah.
A horse in
I
front.
haven't had a chance to see this application. Is there a sunset clause in it? Or are you gonna live with this sheet of plywood for the rest of time?
No,
Till the units are sold.
till the last unit's sold.
We could put that in the documentation.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that response, what?
Yeah, until the last unit is sold.
What?
Until the last unit is sold.
Last unit is sold. Is that in writing somewhere? We're gonna put it in writing.
Yep, will be.
He said he would put it in it.
Okay.
Okay, all right, next sign. For the public safety building.
All right, as you'll see that in
Thanks, Larry.
number 3. The town has recognized there's a need for a public information sign on the lawn in front of the public safety building. Right after number 3, you'll see the application, you'll see the graphics. At our last meeting, board members asked whether or not what was being proposed at that time was actually large enough for motorists to see it effectively. And the Chief Stevens recommended that he get some signage examples from other communities. I have a set of color photographs that I'll send around. What he is proposing based on that set of recommendations and what he's seen is not the largest, but not the smallest, but it is a 2.6 foot wide times 6.5 foot long sign that is like the sign in Groveland that you'll see in your package, and I'm sending around the color photograph if you'd like to see it.
Patrick,
Yes, sir.
Was he talking about having a sign perpendicular to the road or parallel to the road?
It would be perpendicular, so you can see it from both
Yeah, because
directions.
that's what these two are here.
Yeah, right.
Meters, however
Right.
many.
So he's going with one that's a little bit bigger than this original 2x6?
Yeah, it's just a little bit bigger. Actually, the one that they were proposing last time, I think it was 2 feet by 6 feet. And he thought that just modestly increasing that to what Groveland's look was at 2.6 feet times 6.5 was fully adequate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is weird. This says it's
No, I assume what he's, the measurement leads to the electronic
there to
version of
there.
the sign.
Yes, that's correct.
Correct.
Well,
The
then
height.
this says this
Right,
is 6
correct.
feet long. This is almost
Note
square.
that Groveland
Yeah,
Can't
has
be.
the street
no, he's
address
talking
on it.
just about this part.
Yeah, and, you know,
That part
as
there.
he asked me about that, I said, you know, it's really about wayfinding. You know, not everybody that is on 1A
Knows where it is.
knows where addresses are, knows where they're going to. We all have handhelds. We don't always know where we're at based on street numbers. So to me, it's really helpful to have the benefit of that, even though it's, you know, what, 260 to 300?
Yeah, then the top sign would probably get a little bit taller than, I mean, this is a little different because you're saying it's both police, fire, and senior, so that you get those 3 lines, so you're gonna have to add another line.
Right.
For the address.
They are also willing to condition this based on hours that the board, you know, thinks is appropriate. That would most likely come to the ZBA, I suspect. I think the planning board's review probably ought to be dimensional, you know, appearance, that sort of thing. Because as you know, a site plan review in an abbreviated way, this is really a recommendation that goes to the ZBA from this board.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I like the 2.5 foot size better. I think it'll make a difference.
So I think the only, so a recommendation would be to approve the design as the amended design as proposed with the addition of, street number.
I think that would be a banner motion.
I think that, hopefully somebody could make that motion, but I don't know who might make that.
You're on a roll, so, you know.
Part of the problem is we couldn't hear you over here what you said, so it doesn't matter.
Let me mumble a little less clearly.
Oh, I got that.
Okay. So,
Try saying it a little louder. You know, I might as well go home. I got the best hearing aids known to man, and you know, the mumbling that goes along, it's disgraceful.
Okay.
A public meeting can't keep its voice level high enough for even the old and infirm can figure out what the hell's going on.
okay, I'll speak right
Not
up.
all of us
Why
would.
I'm blowing up is, Patrick, who made up this committee of this sign group?
I don't think there was a
Wasn't one.
committee.
Well, I'm the one that originally brought the idea to the town, to the selectmen.
Yes, sir.
And I was on the agenda for December 3rd, and then I was summarily excused by totally ignoring me and the senior center and the police department and the fire department and I believe yourself, all town employees came up with this idea and totally ignored whatever input I might have into it. But that's all right. I'm just pointing who did this
They must have listened to you,
and,
Ed.
and purposely did not involve me in it, even though I'm the one that carried the football onto the field.
You know what, Ed? I wasn't even part of it. You know, being a,
The interest of harmony in our little political world, maybe it'd be well for us to find out.
Well, be that as it may, we now have in front of us a proposal for consideration of the sign and its design and dimensions. And Patrick has indicated our next step would be making a recommendation to the ZBA as to whether we like the sign and any recommendations for modifications that we might think appropriate. So Peter Clark has indicated he'd like to see the number of Bay Road added to the sign, which I think everybody agrees would be helpful in wayfinding. So I'm going to recommend that the planning board approve the sign as submitted with the recommendation that the number of Bay Road be added to the sign so it's clear as to where, what the address is.
And that it be 2.6.
That it be 2.6 feet high and 6 feet wide. 6.5? Okay, I correct that. 2.6 high and 6.5 wide.
So it would be a pleasure to second that motion.
It
Okay.
might just be interesting to note that my original concept of going to the selectmen and speaking on the issue that I was denied being able to do was to get some public involvement, like from the League of Women Voters and the public at large, of what they might like this sign to look like, and at least some input into it, rather than a group of town employees who have their, I'm a great supporter of the communication of the people to the town police department and fire department and what have you, but to ignore any public comment other than an empty room like we have now seems to me to be short-sighted.
Well, that's certainly, you know, an opinion you can have, Ed. It's been talked about in 2 public meetings that are telecast. And I don't think every decision in town has to go to a committee unless it's got a significant expenditure or it's going to have a significant impact on the town. So I'd like to continue the consideration of the recommendation that I suggested.
Yep, seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay.
And I think we should thank Ed for his bringing the whole thing and getting the ball rolling.
Yeah, you got the ball rolling.
Good.
Okay. All right, master planning update. I'll let you handle this one, Patrick.
Let's see. A number of things have been moving and not moving. You'll recall that the survey was scheduled to end tomorrow. My last understanding was there were 537 responses. I got a longhand response from someone at the senior center yesterday morning. I sent that in. So there's 538. Very well subscribed to survey. Appreciate everyone's effort in pursuing that. It's given us a lot of good data. The consultants are looking through that. They're evaluating and categorizing the kinds of responses that have come to them. So that'll be before the board at some point. We recently received their document, basically the report, which I sent out, I believe it was about a week ago. I don't know if anyone has had a chance to make any reviews on the profile document yet, but please feel free to do so. You will recall that we were scheduling the second forum to be on March the 20th. Today, I was told by the consultants they're not going to be able to make that date. They have been attempting to do some fiscal impact analyses using some theoretical properties for theoretical projects. And they haven't been able to come to closure on that. They're still working on it with some town staff. So this is pushing the date off somewhat until a point where they can fit it into their schedules. They are recommending a date of April 29th. So I'm checking to see that we can find a space for that date and try to find whether or not there are any conflicts that night as well. So that's a very long-winded postponement request to the board.
What night of the week is that?
That would be a Monday.
Monday, okay.
Yeah.
What are we expecting to achieve in the next public meeting? Are we trying to reach a consensus within the town or something? I'm not quite sure.
What they really wanted to do is give us a full understanding of all of the work products to
Yep.
date, an evaluation of survey materials, an evaluation of fiscal impact analyses based on these projects that, you know, I was referring to. They wanted to basically, you know, quickly walk through the demographics that they've been able to get the most recent data upon. All the elements that you see in that profile document that they've gotten public input upon, board input upon, they want to be able to provide that to the general public. You know, as Ed points out, we don't always have very much of an audience. So it was always been their recommendation that we have 2 of these forums so we can better engage the public. So those are the kinds of things that I expect us to be provided with at that time.
Can we undertake a real publicity effort this time? Last time, I was disappointed in the turnout. I would hope that we'd really see a cross-section of the town, and it was just the same people that normally come to public meetings about housing and so forth. So I don't think we gained anything by collecting those views. The broad things and even educating the public didn't take place.
A couple of comments related to that. You know, getting the benefit of opinions coming from 537 people, I like that. I think that's going to give us some real good input. A lot of folks, they don't come to public meetings. They lead busy lives. They've got kids. They have other, you know, life endeavors that consume time, effort, and energy. And, you know, we've had our earlier event on Facebook, on Twitter, on the town's website. We had it on the Chronicle. You know, we've had it in every
school, through the school system.
Yeah, mail-ins through the school systems. You know, sometimes you can't get everything that you want, you know, out of your public, and I'm a bit of a loss to try to find something above and beyond what we've already done, Peter.
And there were a lot of people there that I didn't know. I've never seen some of them before, so I think there were some different people there.
Well,
Short of hanging a banner across Bay Road, you know,
or putting it on the electric sign.
well,
Yeah.
We can get that up fast.
I was gonna say we might have time now to.
Maybe we should condition it to be up within, a couple of
I
weeks.
think it would be a great idea.
Peter, I agree with you. I would have liked to seen a much more, a better cross-section of.
Not faulting us.
No.
about it.
I'm just saying, I too would have liked to have seen a larger cross-section. And I think having you and I are the only original people on this board who were involved in the last master plan. I think it's a testament to the community, the change in the community, the demographics, and how people communicate. There isn't that personal engagement, sort of community engagement, unless there's a specific and typically contentious issue. And you're seeing it across the board. Just people get to run for office now is like pulling teeth. So I think it's where we are as civil society, and Hamilton is just very difficult to get people to volunteer their time to learn more about their community.
I'll whip some people together.
Say again?
I will try and whip some people together and get some people out of there watching their TVs or whatever.
That would be good.
Well, we have, almost a month and a half to
So
dream up some.
they're basically asking for a 6-week extension.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a pretty large extension on the schedule. That's like pushing it out by 30%.
It doesn't change the contract date,
No, I understand.
but it definitely changes the deliverable dates.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the other thing I thought that was coming out of this next meeting was that they were going to present some preliminary, based on all the data, some preliminary recommendations on potential housing options. Am I imagining that, or is that?
No, I think that's still part of it.
And
And-
that's what they're putting it off, to make sure that they can do that?
What they're needing time to do is to do the full impact analyses, because they're dependent on some information based on the development scenarios, which requires assessors' involvement, which requires finance director involvement as well.
I think it would be good to have that information. I think,
Well, that's a huge piece of this.
yes.
I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
they thought they could do it by March 20th, right? That's why we had from February 5th to the 20th to give them time to do that. But obviously, that's not the case now.
Well, and that's,
And,
And
doing that kind of work is the reason we picked that particular,
Yeah.
Right.
It's the double-edged sword.
yeah.
We wanted a small firm.
Well,
and
so-
so we got a small firm that is probably overloaded, and now the project manager no longer works for the firm.
right.
So that's part of the,
They lost,
si-
one of the women resigned.
right. So, I mean,
So, I
it
mean,
it
you
is
know,
what
I
it
was-
is.
I was chatting with Patrick about it this afternoon, and it is what it is, you're right, and it's, basically we need to move on and just hope that we're gonna get, the full product that we have asked for, and, if it takes a little extra time to do that, so be it.
Let's see
We,
the benefit in it.
well,
If we use it.
I mean, the fact that they said they could do this in X time and now they can't is a bummer, but if it takes more time and we get a good product, that's fine. I'm just upset that, we had these dates for quite some time, they've been out to the public for quite some time, and now we've got to change it. Based on the fact that they couldn't perform, so. It's
So
a
one of
little
the
upsetting.
What's the new date they want? I'm sorry.
The 29th of April.
The 29th.
So I'm wondering if we can do an updated town meeting, just sort of as a 2-minute summary and update.
Yep.
So at least people,
Put it out on the public.
the audience will know what's coming.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Great
And-
idea.
I mean, it needs to go back to every place we advertised before.
Right.
Another article in paper, at least one. And we need to come up with the right verbiage to explain the delay. Right, so. I just don't want it coming back on us, right, that it was, something that we did, right, so. So, yeah, we'll figure that out. at the next meeting, but yeah, if anybody has other ideas on where to, you know, post this or advertise this, then, you know.
I mean, it could be just because it's the end of April, it will be nicer weather, more people will come out.
I'd like to have, it if we can, at the library.
Yeah.
I think that's a
Yeah.
better
It-
space
Def-
than it.
That's a better location.
Definitely is, yeah.
I mean, I'd rather have a packed room than, you kind of, it's a pretty cavernous space at the middle school.
Mhm.
But you get to have a 3-hour meeting or something, so we could go into it in detail, whereas we get thrown out of the library after, what, an hour and a half?
No.
Well, we can also advertise a gourmet meal.
Even and not provide it, but advertise it.
Ooh.
People love you when you do that.
Well, once.
Okay. Anything else on that?
That's where we're at.
That's where we're at.
folks.
Okay. All right, where are we here? The update on bylaws. So you sent around the latest inclusionary bylaw language,
Modification. yeah.
modification, sorry, yeah,
Correct.
which is pretty straightforward. I think we're good there.
What section is it? I've seen it, but
Oh,
section 5.
I guess printed it out earlier.
It's under 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the primary change there, Peter, is that we went from 2 times the area, 80% of area median income to 3 times,
Yep.
which brings it up to about 240. Is it 260?
I think it was like 273.
273. So,
About half of what you need.
It's about half of what, or maybe 40%, 60% of the cost to construct a unit. However, as the board discussed earlier, weeks ago, months ago, if you really take that linkage demand further, you create such an impediment to people doing senior housing projects that we really felt like it was going to be a detriment to anyone taking the senior housing
Or
bylaw.
any housing
Yeah.
project.
Yeah. Hereafter. So, we felt like this was a happy medium that gets us more cash to extend toward affordable housing at the same time as not killing our own bylaw, which we really want to see continue because we're seeing some real interest in it.
yeah, just as, I don't know if you saw it, but the meeting prior to ours, the Affordable Housing Trust, there's a developer at Gordon Theological Seminary who's proposing a 40B, and I forget how many units.
43 units,
43 units,
single-family units.
single-family units, and what are there, 11 of them that would be
There would be 11 affordable units out
11
of that.
affordable
And what
units,
kind of prices are they talking about?
300,000 to 400,000.
Yeah, 3, 4, 5.
So it's essentially it'll be like a cottage housing development.
I haven't heard about that.
Well, that's because it
Brand
just,
new.
it just
Just
went
happened.
before the Affordable Housing Trust tonight.
Okay.
It's very nice.
We've got a picture here if you'd like to see it.
On that A&R piece that we did off Bridge Street.
That's gonna require some serious civil engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the hillside, yeah.
There was, I know that they've done some test pits and didn't find any ledge.
Really?
They found rock, they found gravel, but it's all broken,
Yeah, it's
what
such,
they call rotten.
yeah, a terminal moraine.
So, yeah, it carried, the glaciers carried a lot of rock with it over time and just left it there, so.
Single family, yeah.
Uh,
Small. I
The
mean, they're small.
developer is a practicing architect, has been for a number of decades, done a number of 40B projects, is finishing one up in Holliston right now. I think it's about 20-some units.
What's his name and where's he from, please, Patrick?
He is from Jamaica Plain. His name is Peter Conant.
Cottage?
Conant, C-O-N-A-N-T.
What, this connecting into the seminary?
Not the seminary, it's Bridge Street.
So what's our next step with the proposal here, proposed amendment?
Glad you brought that up. What we will do at our next meeting, which is March the 19th, is that we will hold 3 public hearings. And one for the inclusionary housing, one for signage, and one for the micro cell.
And where are we on those?
We've been working away.
No, I mean, I know Dan was doing yeoman's work on the
Yep.
microcell. Just
Hello?
hello.
Donna Brewer has rewritten, or, you know, I had given her a request regarding the signage, and I had taken our signage bylaw. She looked at it and says, you know, there's some real issues with this. I need to legally review this and make some significant constitutional changes to
You or she
that.
does?
She did.
Oh, okay.
And the text that you have in the package here, I think it's the last of the articles, is her having rewritten the signage bylaw so it's constitutional, number one, and number two, so it allows for a yard sign. You may recall that I've mentioned to the board that we were having some real issues between private schools with competing signs. You know, Wenham was allowing bigger, we were requiring smaller. We didn't really allow any, in fact, so it was making for a bit of a friction between the schools, and one of the presidents of, I guess it was Pingree, asked the town manager, can we fix this? So that was sort of the progenesis of why we're changing the signage bylaw. It's a, you know, Donna Brewer told me that we really need to change it because what we have currently on the books is unconstitutional. You'll recall as we were working through the zoning bylaw with Mr. Bobrowski, he basically told us signs are political instruments, and you planning board and you town need to figure out what it is that you wanted. So in that, it was a significant item in that he sort of backed away from it. We did not include that in the rewrite that took place in 2015 and 2016. So what you have here is the recommendation that has come from Donna Brewer. She had one question for us, which, as you look at 6.3.2, residential districts, in every residential districts, signs shall be permitted as follows. Number one, only one sign is permitted per lot. We have been asked by her, you know, is that the appropriate number? And also recognize that if you do that on every lot, some people's property encompasses multiple lots. So we need to wordsmith how to do this so it's the appropriate number for the contiguous ownership.
So is that for temporary signs?
That's for temporary signs, yes.
And are there cases where people might have children in two different schools? but they
Absolutely.
want two different signs?
I was made aware that that is a common thing.
Well, they're just gonna have to pick which they, which one they
Well,
want.
no, because we had talked about allowing multiple signs for, specific, I mean, not counting political signs, but multiple signs for specific events, like for a school or something, right?
Right.
And we didn't
That's right.
specify the time frame, but we said like a month before, and then it has to come down right after the event,
That's right.
right? But, I mean, you have to allow more than one, right? I mean,
Janelle, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what your first remark was. I couldn't, so I can't follow what the conversation is.
Whether just one sign is too restrictive, because there are often people that have children in two different schools and might want to put two signs on their lawn during admissions season.
I didn't even think of that as a use, but.
Or what about people that want to really support two candidates for,
No, that's not.
different. That's different.
accepted.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Political season is sort of a free-for-all,
Okay, good.
yeah, until it's over.
So that's actually been eliminated from this.
What's that?
Well, the language that said,
I know.
shall not be, no more than 1 month in advance of the event and no more than, whatever, 1 week
I mean, it
following.
talks about, in definitions, it talks about temporary signage. It says signs in place for no more than 2 months in a calendar year, for 2 months prior to any national, state, or local election, and for 1 week thereafter. They may have up to 5 signs per lot.
Elections.
Okay,
Right.
got it.
I'm talking
But I
about-
think we need something like that for
Well, that's what I'm,
temp signs.
right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And maybe no more than 2 signs per lot.
Yeah, 2 or 3. I wouldn't
So,
go.
how do- how do
No
you-
more than
how
2
do-
signs per
Contiguous ownership.
contiguous lots.
You want to say ownership?
Could you put that into a sentence?
No more than 2 signs allowed per
Lot
ownership.
Per ownership, okay.
Per
Per-
contiguous lots in the
Per-
same ownership.
Yeah,
Yes.
per,
Okay,
yeah.
that's better.
Because you could own multiple properties around town, and
Right.
technically you could only put them on one property.
Not to begin, or not to begin 1 month prior to a designated event and remove no later than 1 week
Yeah.
following the conclusion of
Yeah,
the advertised event.
Yeah.
Or something.
that's fair.
Yeah,
Is that
whenever I
okay? I mean, I know the private school stuff, I mean, it's usually like a month before, right?
Yeah,
They-
they always want them out like 2 months ahead, but
Too bad.
they get run over and ignored until like the
Yeah.
week before the thing.
And
It
besides,
rains.
I'm not, it's all well and good that people want to advertise, free advertising for their schools, but
I don't think they do.
I'm not particularly interested in
they're all
having my
over the place
community
sometimes.
populated by,
During admission seasons? Oh, yeah.
advertisements for various private schools. It's now become like sign wars.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well,
that's my thought.
yeah, I mean, it's not that much different than, certain contractor doing work on a house, that has a sign out for a short time, or a roofer.
Yeah, this
you know.
doesn't even speak to that.
They come do my lawn,
So,
we do landscaping.
So in actuality, those signs are not, they're not covered.
Well,
and-
they're,
and-
they're temporary.
Well, they are temporary, but,
I mean, they technically are. I mean, they just don't.
okay.
Temporary signage, signs in place for no more than 2 months in a calendar year.
Okay.
so you're also putting the word temporary in 6.3.2, correct?
That's where it's going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
Okay.
actually, that number 1 and then number 4 and 6.3.5 are contradictory to each other in
Well-
a sense.
Well, I think what it's saying in residence districts is that you're only allowed to have a temporary sign.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have concluded that.
Well, not for this, but what we just said.
Okay.
So, can you shift gears here?
Sure.
Question on then back to the small wireless, or?
Oh, what do you mean back? We haven't started that yet.
Well, it's back in the order of bylaws.
Okay.
So I'd like to switch gears.
Okay,
to the
that's fine. I think
small
we're good on
wireless.
signs.
So is the language that we have, the language that Dan and you and the town council agree on?
Yes.
Okay, good. So it's.
We've collectively worked together. We've hammered out something that, uses Worcester's existing city ordinance, which city ordinances are the same as the town bylaw. It's just a semantical thing. But this has definitions. It has the process that they pursue, except for the fact that Worcester gave the DPW,
Yeah,
as I
yeah, no,
understand it,
Right.
the review authority. We're doing that on behalf of the town with the planning board as the special permit granting authority. Another important aspect to what you have in front of you is that I was asked to add some aesthetic elements to it.
That's what.
As you see,
It's
some
highlighted.
gray highlighting.
Yeah.
That might be a little oxymoronic, but it basically, the things that are gray are largely aesthetic, visual kinds of improvements to the bylaw, which I took out of the Peabody
Okay.
ordinance. If you see anything that looks difficult to work with, if you see anything that is problematic, let me know. But it seemed to me that it made sense. Doesn't appear to be over the top in terms of imposing rigorous kinds of things. Seems to be realistic to me in expecting the mobilities of the world to do a little bit better job, in integrating some aesthetics into microsystems. But again, if you see things that, stick out to you, let me know.
So the only thing I see here, just a quick comment, is the pages aren't numbered, but I think it's page 6. It's labeled approval process D, number,
2?
the numbering is a little out of order here.
Yeah, its formatting is kind of weird.
We've got 2 2s, but I'd like
Yeah.
to look at the the second 2.
Yeah,
So
I'm glad you brought that up, because they, in the Worcester City Ordinance, they have this review taking place within 10 days. There's no way.
Yeah.
We can't do that, number one.
All right, so 30 days.
So I'm suggesting, but the thing that we need to be aware of is there's a shot clock, and we only have a limited time to deal with these. Do you recall what, that length is, Dan?
60 or 90, depending on the
Okay.
application. But it's from the time you deem it complete, too.
Yeah, okay.
So 30 days is
Or we
just,
deem it complete.
just to let them know it's complete, not hearing.
Right.
Okay.
Patrick, I might be missing it, but under definitions, an outdoor surface, when does a plate glass window become a sign? If I have a plate glass window in the front of my storefront, and there's a flash on the inside of the window, I have a flashing light that says open or whatever. Yeah,
Are we back to signs now?
back to signs.
Oh, okay. Just give us a heads up when you're changing subjects.
Well, give me a clue, when did it change? I thought we were talking signs.
No, we moved on to the small cell tower,
Okay,
so, but just so I just wanted to know where we were.
well, I only hear about 1 out of every 10 words that you say because you don't learn enough to speak up in a public meeting.
Ah.
That's all right. I don't blame
Don't-
you.
I wouldn't, you know what, I've heard that a couple times now, and I don't think that's totally fair. I mean, obviously, you know, you have a self-admitted hearing issue, but everyone else, I believe, can hear Rick pretty well, so
Well, I
it's,
didn't hear him.
I knew we were moving.
Come on.
Sorry.
So,
So you need, if you're confused, then you need to speak up and say,
Yeah.
I can't hear you, or I'm not following what you're saying. So, I'd be happy to accommodate your request, but I can't do it if I don't know.
Mr. Boroff couldn't hear something that was going, he made a comment he couldn't hear over on this side of the table. And Peter said he couldn't hear what you were saying.
Well, again,
No, it's maybe, I admit I'm old, I'm also somewhat infirm, but so isn't most of the elderly people in the world that have lost their hearing to some degree. Now, I go along day to day, business-wise, quite successfully. I do have a problem here with hearing what's going on in this planning board meeting, yes, I admit. Maybe I should go and sit over next to Patrick. Maybe I'd hear what's going on in some part.
I'd
But
be glad to switch seats,
you'd be glad to switch seats where?
so you can sit closer to Patrick.
Yeah, that would be, maybe that's a solution.
Ed, I am sensitive to your concern because I wear hearing aids as well. So, and I've lost about 80% of my hearing in my left ear.
Yeah.
So I'm sensitive to it. So, anyway,
The whole, I appreciate that kindly thought. I don't have a problem with that. What I find very deceptive is this microphone system, which tells the public that they're on a speaker system, and they're not on a speaker system. It's only for the television, and there's an illusion that takes place here. They think they're speaking loud enough because of these microphones sitting here.
I will speak loudly.
That'll help me too.
question I would like to ask.
yeah, speak up.
On
On the wireless or on the sign?
on the wireless, back to that, is, you know, one of the things we've struggled with is the one-off microcells. So how does this address the issue of the needing a larger plan if we're going to start having one application at a time? Do you feel like it addresses that?
It does have a provision in it that's asking for the applicant to give us an understanding of systematically what they propose to do.
So their plan in terms, is that how you read that? Their plan in
Yeah.
terms of?
That's how I read that.
I would agree.
You know, I
Is that the way they're going to be organized, these mono things, that they'll come in, just put up one pole and go away, and that'll be the only one in town, or?
I think it really depends on a number of things, Peter. Some of them are going to want to hit the population center, which is downtown near the train station, the shopping center, etc. Others may not really come here at all because we don't have a real central area of heavy population.
For data transmission, and so it's all going to be in the commercial district, really, because there's not much in it for home data.
Are
Or
all of them
offices in
data,
there.
or?
Actually, it's,
They're both,
that's-
some are both.
The
right?
whole point of 5G is so you can cut the cable. So you don't need the whole, that is the whole point, is the data. So whether it's residential or commercial. But it's also phone, it'll also be providing phone.
Keep going and give me more perspective. I
so-
just don't quite get it yet.
The idea behind 5G is that it'll be faster than your cable
I
company.
knew that.
So their idea is that they'll sell to the low income, the people who don't want, are trying to be budget conscious, and they'll get rid of their cable companies and use that as opposed to,
So then you will really want better transmission than the cell towers we have now.
Well, yeah, they need to have more of them.
right.
So then we would expect someone like the applicant to put them all along the streets in the single towers.
Yeah, well, the ideal would be to go on existing telephone poles. That's their ideal.
Say it again?
Their ideal is to go on existing poles,
Oh,
telephone poles.
Telephone poles.
So, I mean, the size of, what this bylaw is permitting is something about the size of that water cooler over there.
Mhm.
Nothing bigger than that. They're not building big cell towers everywhere. They're literally putting a can about the size of that water
Mhm.
cooler in a piece of equipment,
And then
half the size of
other
that podium.
carriers would go on to the next pole or another
Correct.
pole. And
Correct.
so they'll be all around.
Correct.
Okay. That'd be really better than the cell tower.
I mean, that's, yeah.
But
But they're looking to
understand,
hit population. They're not looking to put them everywhere in town. They won't
Right.
put one out on Large Row unless, the president of Verizon or AT&T lives out there and he requests it specifically. I mean, that's the way you get them.
as mobility representatives also told us, Peter, that these things cannot work independently of the larger cell towers. They depend on that exclusively for their information transmission.
Because they're data only.
A source.
That's what
It's
I
a
heard.
source, yeah. It's a
It's a network.
network.
right? Yeah.
So think of it like a honeycomb, and each honeycomb is a different cell site covering different areas.
But like, if you have a large house, right, you got multiple wireless routers or points around, it's the same kind of thing. It's just,
But
the-
the
these
goal
can't,
is,
these
yeah.
can't transmit as far as a 4G system.
The goal is connectivity. Like, I don't know how much you drive and talk on the phone, but there's certain areas of town you start driving through and you'll lose coverage, like downtown if you're on Verizon. So,
If you had covers to begin with.
yes.
It's like Essex and Grapevine, always, that corner.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Because that's the furthest from anything. So this bylaw does a good job of covering us based on the latest FCC rulings. And it also keeps it in our hands.
Okay.
So,
Great.
So you'll see this with Donna's comments and some better formatting.
don't you just love Word?
Okay,
So
great. Thank you for your time, both of you, on that.
we'll be discussing at the next meeting, is that the idea?
Big
Yeah.
job.
Be a public hearing.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
We have any questions? Can we call you in Hawaii?
If not before noon.
Who's noon?
You're noon.
Okay. So the next,
Yeah, next is street acceptance
Yeah.
policy.
Correct. As the public and the board will recall, we've been talking about the street acceptance process for some time. The Board of Selectmen actually asked us a few months ago to provide them with a recommendation as to what a policy should be and whether or not we expect to see it go forward. This board discussed and evaluated 6 different other municipalities' street acceptance processes. We ultimately decided on the language of Canton, Massachusetts, and thought that it best fit where we should be pursuing. That bylaw language basically places the requirements for the engineering, the property procurement, the construction, the hard improvements to be exclusively borne by the abutters. And that was the recommendation that this board basically made to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen thought, well, we need to firm this up a little bit more, so they asked this planning board to review this language, which again came from Canton, but it's been sanitized a little bit. We have Hamilton in here. We have tried to tailor it to what the town needs it to be. The DPW director has looked at it as well, as has the town administrator.
Town manager.
Yeah, the town manager. I think that the Board of Selectmen previously wanted to take this to town meeting this spring, but I think that they, have decided to put it off until this fall, give people a little bit more time for their processes, deliberations, et cetera, in the interim. I think that they're expecting more input. As you might well imagine, a lot of the input is from people who bought properties on private ways without recognizing or understanding or being made aware of the implications of buying property on a private way, particularly one where they potentially are required to do their own trash removal, their own upkeep of the roadway, their own snow movement as well. So those have been some of the frictions that we've heard from folks that are interested in potentially seeing their roads or driveway or streets rather being improved. As you recall, Berrywood residents were pursuing this at one time, and they were here, a month or so ago, still interested as well.
A question about the language where it says a strong majority, approximately 75%. So is it okay to have that kind of vague language?
I suspect that town council is going to make that a hard and fast, determinative.
Yeah.
Greater than.
Yeah, because it just seems too vague.
Yeah, right.
So this is the recommended wording, not necessarily final.
Correct. It will go back to the Board of Selectmen. This is actually a town bylaw. I've forgotten the citation number, but there is an existing street policy where acceptance policy right now, where the town picks up half of the improvement costs, half of the design costs, and then all of the legal costs. The idea of the town having these unanticipated costs at that level, the liability is just way beyond what we can address.
Okay. So, do we, at this point in time, do we want to approve this and send it on to the Board of Selectmen? What's our next step on this?
The board needs to make a recommendation to accept it and recommend it to the Board of Selectmen to handle further.
Do we need, should we do that prior to Donna reviewing it, or does it really matter? I mean, she's gonna do it either way, but.
Make your own decision. You know, I was of the opinion that since we've already made the recommendation to the board, to me, this is just reaffirming the recommendation you've already made.
Right.
And then, you know, the Board of Selectmen and Town Manager will have it legally vetted to be perfected, so it can then go further.
I mean, we obviously have more time now since
do
this would
that.
be fall town meeting.
Right.
I mean, does anybody think we need to redo this, reaffirm our support for this?
So I think that basically what we're doing is recommending this to this specific language.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right, so,
I do like what, town manager has added in though about all the utilities that are there to be.
and that's
Sure
in
if
here
that's
now.
in- I didn't find that in the bylaw, or,
Yeah, particularly drainage is lacking,
right,
and water equipment was lacking as well.
right.
So that's now in here?
Yes.
Okay. So I make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Selectmen adoption of the Town of Hamilton policy converting private ways to public streets as developed and reviewed by the planning board.
Second.
Second. Any more discussion?
Should we actually spend more time reading this, or?
Just seems like,
I
No.
think we've read it a lot already.
Okay.
I haven't read it.
I don't
I'm
care.
sorry. I've never seen this before, so,
Well, it comes to you electronically on a weekly basis.
well, I've never seen it yet.
Well, you ought to check your town email then.
I do.
Well, it's coming to you unless you're the only one that's not getting it. So, can we take a vote?
We can, yeah, it's been seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I can, well, abstain.
Okay. All right. One abstention.
Okay.
All right, where are we?
Number 7.
Yep.
We have a, I guess it was at the last meeting, the town manager requested that the board consider support, as the Board of Selectmen already have done so, support of a municipal vulnerability preparedness program. This is a grant application and grant process that the Metropolitan Area Planning Council is making available. The state actually appropriated a significant amount of planning resources to allow communities to determine what kinds of vulnerabilities they had to climate change. So this is the town manager has requested, as has Ann Jarrow. She's really been the moving individual behind trying to get this before the town and get the town to pursue the grant process so we could begin addressing our determination, do we have areas of vulnerability relative to tidal influences, low elevations, areas of inundation, floodplain areas, pinch points at where we have river flow that might cause some property damage, et cetera. So this is something that they're recommending. that the board accept and allow Brian to sign a letter of support. You see that letter, support letter in your package here, and I've brought a fresh copy for Brian to sign if the board is so willing.
I would make a motion that the planning board affirm and support the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And you have one set of minutes.
Yep. I was just about to get there.
Marcy was lucky enough to be on vacation for a while.
So yeah, January 29th minutes, we couldn't approve them last time because we didn't have enough people. Thanks.
Okay, well, continuing the roll, I make a motion we accept the meeting minutes for January 29th, 2019.
Second?
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Before we adjourn, can I make one thing? The Open Space Committee recently got 5 applications which were approved for the committee, so it will be up and running shortly.
And who's
Great.
on
Yeah,
it?
Who's on it? Well, me, from the planning board.
Yeah.
George Tarr from the Concom, Conservation Commission. Sean Timmons, who is the recreation
director, yeah.
coordinator. And I gotta remember, there's 5 names.
Got 3.
Huh?
You've got 3.
No, 5 new names.
Oh,
Oh, this
on
is,
top of those 3.
On
Okay.
top of
all right.
oh, I'm looking for the new names.
People.
Yeah.
Chris Davis, Belinda Riccio, I think her name is, who owns the Northern Light, or whatever its name is, and I don't mean to be rude to her, gift shop, I think it's on Woodbury.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Kerr there, lives on 101 Chabaco Road. I think her name is Angela. I can never pronounce her name correctly, but she owns the Monogram Shop downtown. Who did I? Oh, Mo Olmsted. His first name I think is Merrill, something like that. Olmsted. They're all people, and I think I got it. Was that 5 people?
I think so.
Sounds
I
like
think
it.
that's right.
Okay, they all are people who are, and I apologize for getting their names wrong and not pronouncing them properly, but we'll get there. They are all people who were involved with Chabaco Woods, and I think they're all neighbors, sort of. They're all from that area. Partridge Berry and Woodbury and Chabaco Road.
Good. Glad that's back up and running.
So it'll be up and running shortly.
Look at the topography there.
Did you
Great.
get your drawing back of
Can't support it.
Gordon Theological Seminary, 40B? Did you get
Say
the
again?
Drawing back from
How you gonna
Gordon
handle
I
Theological.
think it's over there somewhere.
What do you want?
Hey, Ed, can you pass that drawing back?
I was just commenting on the topography of that hill.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's steep.
It's gonna be a challenge.
Slightly, yeah.
Just as, sure, I'll scan that and send it out tomorrow. Just as a final note on dates, we meet on the 13th, no, excuse me, the 19th, and we have 3 bylaws that we're holding public hearings on. Let's not forget. Also on April the 2nd, we have the Meyer Road continuance of that. At that meeting, also, we want to begin the public hearing for the site plan approval for the Green Meadows medical marijuana facility application. I have probably several hundred pounds worth of paperwork that I've just received with that.
I thought it was something else.
Yeah. No, it wasn't something else.
It's like, we knew you wanted early
Oh,
retirement.
paper. But if you want plans, specifications, the stormwater permit application, which will also be before this board as a special permit review process, come see me. I'll make sure you get it.
And
Look everybody up.
And this, it also has to go to zoning and Concom, right?
Yes, it has to go to Concom after all of the other boards have done their evaluation permitting. The Zoning Board of Appeals is the entity that does the Groundwater Protection Overlay District review. So that will be with them probably the first meeting in May.
Patrick, looking forward some, I was entering in my calendar for the year, meeting dates, and I think there's a conflict in the fall between Election Day and our meeting. I don't think we can hold a planning board meeting on Election Day.
We had an issue with that before, but if, I've
I know it's
charted out a date that, is conflicted, I'll definitely look at it and we'll take care of that.
Do you have a draft of the opinion on the Nazir Road application or subdivision?
Actually, yeah, I've been sending the stuff, Peter. We have an opinion from Chris Heap regarding his review. I guess that was probably 2 weeks ago. I'll make sure that, I send it to you again so you have it.
Well, I can go research it, but
Oh, sure. Also, just as a footnote, the new fire chief reviewed the plans and basically said that, with the recent changes to the plan that the engineers provided, they were acceptable to him.
That was the same thing that he said the last time he was here, right? He was here?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
The DPW director tells me just make sure that it's private maintenance. So
Subject
that's
to road
the
acceptance policy.
yeah, the usual.
Can you resend that
Sure.
notice from Chris Heap? Chris Heap?
Yeah.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that.
Sure.
I was having issues at the time too, so.
Issues.
Issues.
I think I saw it a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that long
Peter,
ago.
I didn't see it, Patrick, one time, and he sent it to me again, but I think it was because it was awfully long, and then I read it this time and I understood it.
Okay. Very good. I'll send it out again.
Okay.
I move adjournment.
Are you making a motion?
Yes, I'm making the motion that we adjourn.
All those in favor?
Second?
Second.
You did it.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Those opposed?
Yeah.
All right.
Those are almost always unanimous.